it's time to take the meat inside instead of writing it, cause this time we're going to be talking about the top 5 rated games of all time. So basically the top 5 accurately rated games. I've talked about the most meat-ridden games of all time before in this video, so if you want to check that out, then just click the card right above or just stay tuned until the end of the video. But before we get into the list, make sure to join the 2% of everyone watching this video and subscribe to the channel so that Days Gone 2 stays cancelled. But let's get started. Now, unlike the other list, this isn't really in order, cause they're all equally accurately rated in my opinion. I wouldn't really say one game is more accurate than the other. So to start things off with the list, I've got Uncharted 4. Easily the best game in the series and also the best Naughty Dog game. The game is a huge step forward from the original trilogy, with a lot of it having to do with the game being on PS4. The original games came out during the PS3 era, so the tech back then was limited, but since this game was on PS4, they were able to do a whole lot more. The combat feels better and is more advanced, the game is stunning to look at, and the action sequences are just way crazier. For an action-adventure game, this is definitely up there, and the praise it gets is deserved. Like, the chase scene in the city just goes apeshit. It's constant action for like 10 minutes. The only issue with the game in my opinion though, is the story. I just wish Sam was mentioned in the previous games, at least in Uncharted 3, instead of just being introduced in this game. And I think Drake not saying shit to Elena after being with her for so many years would have had a way bigger impact on their relationship. After she finds out, she apologizes pretty quickly, and she's all over it. Not revealing you had a brother in your life is a pretty big deal, and she just takes it as if it's not much. So yeah, I think Sam not being in the older games is the biggest issue with the game. Other than that, I don't have any issues. Most people's issues with the game probably revolve around Sam as well, so I feel the game is accurately rated. I made a video over here talking about the Uncharted games, so if you want to see what I have to say about the other games and talk a bit more about Uncharted 4, then just check this video out. But the next game I've got on the list is Spider-Man. This game didn't miss at anything. The gameplay is a copy and paste of the Arkham games, which no one would complain about. The traversal is probably the best in any video game ever, cause no other game has you web slinging like this. And the game looked amazing on PS4 and now on PS5 in the performance RT mode is just insane. And on top of that, the story was really good for what it was going for. It's a slightly different take on Spider-Man if you've only watched the movies, cause he's already been Spider-Man for years. To some people, it's their favorite superhero game, and I would probably agree as well. I just think it takes what the Arkham games do and just checks off all the points on the list. Only issues I had were the MJ missions and the boss fights. The boss fights kind of feel the same, and the MJ missions are just a drag after playing as Spider-Man. Most people feel the same way as well, so I think it gets the criticism it deserves on top of its praise. But for the sequel, I think they could make some new additions on top of fixing the issues I mentioned in this video to make an absolute masterpiece. I expand on this in my video over here in the card above, so if you want to check that out, then just make sure to do so. But I can see this being people's favorite game of all time, so I do think the praise it gets is deserved. But coming in at the next spot, similar to Spider-Man, I've got the Arkham games. Now, in my short, I can't really explain myself because of the video being a short, so I just said some bullshit saying that the game doesn't make you feel like Batman. But the reason I said that is because right before, I said Spider-Man makes you feel like Spider-Man. Because again, it's a short, I can't explain myself. But people didn't catch on that I was joking, referencing the IGN video, and they thought that I was completely serious. So, if you thought I just made some stupid ass reason in my short, hopefully you're watching this video, cause I can actually give my reasonings. Now, I didn't know what game to choose specifically, but all 3 of the games have a similar consensus. Most people would say that Arkham City has the best story, while Arkham Knight has the best gameplay, then Arkham Origins having the best bosses, and Arkham Asylum having the coolest atmosphere, and just being a solid start to the series. I personally find all the games to be great at the very least, with Arkham Knight or Arkham City being the greatest. Arkham Knight is newer, so the combat, visuals, performance and everything would naturally be better, but City's story is just timeless and doesn't have many issues if there are any. Knight's story had its problems, but its biggest issue is something that most people would agree on, and it's the overuse of the Batmobile. I want to say like half the boss fights were in the Batmobile, and even the regular Batman boss fights were lame as hell. Like, Hush was just a joke of a boss fight. The main villain in the game was so stupid. The pig sucked. The Joker variant sucked. They all sucked. The worst one was Deathstroke. That was actually a slap in the balls, cause this man was the big bad motherfucker from Arkham Origins with a fire ass fight to this mid-ass copy and paste Batmobile fight and this blue ball cutscene. So yeah, Arkham Knight definitely gets the shit it deserves, but it's still a fun game. and City and the other games still hold up to a degree. Most people either find Arkham City or Arkham Knight to be their favorite, and even their favorite superhero game of all time. I would probably give it to Spider-Man, but I can definitely see these games being a favorite as well. But anyways, another game I've got on the list is Bloodborne. Now, Bloodborne I think is the best Souls game to release. I think the Bloodborne world is the best in all of From Software's catalog, with the enemy variation, the environments, bosses, the interconnections, and everything. And I like the gameplay in this game the best when it comes to From Software games. I like how aggressive the game is and how it actually rewards you for playing the way it's designed. You don't have a shield anymore, so you just have to go in raw no rubber with your Glock. I hate the shield in the other games I've played, and I see absolutely no use for them, so the gun just seems better in every given scenario. You can even damage them a bit and use it as a last resort defense mechanism instead of the mid-ass unflavored condom from the other games. But the bosses are also nice in the game, with an exception of Mikolash. I hate this motherfucker more than the amount Nintendo hates its fans. Again, I go into detail in my video, so you can check that out right here if you'd like. But Mikolash was my biggest issue with the game. Even other easy bosses like the witch I didn't mind, cause it was supposed to be like a puzzle, so I thought all the other bosses were good. My only other issue with the game is a very minor one, and it's just having to go through a whole ass journey to fight a boss. And it's mainly two bosses. One was the Blood-Starved Beast, and the other was the Shadows of Yharnam. But the game did have a bunch of nice ass bosses like Father Gascoigne, Martyr Logarius, and Shadows of Yharnam, just to name a few. Most people either find Elden Ring or this game to be the best, but I would definitely give it to this game, and I would even say it's one of the greatest games ever made. But the final game I've got on my list is God of War. After I played Ragnarok, I might feel the same way, so this spot is for both Ragnarok and the original 2018 reboot. But this game is already impressive with the fact that there are 0 cuts in the entire game. But on top of that, the gameplay is heat. The axe combat goes crazy, and as you upgrade the weapons, unlock more abilities, and progress through the story, the combat becomes one of the most satisfying combat systems for an action-adventure game. And then for the story, you've got a fire-ass story with some fire-ass voice acting and some fire-ass visuals. For me, this game and Bloodborne are up there as some of the greatest games of all time, and many people say this is one of the greatest games of all time, so I would definitely agree, which is why it's on the list. I think Niflheim is the only issue I had, along with the boss fights. The fights weren't a major issue, it's just that they started off with an absolute fucking bang, and then the other fights just weren't on the same level. They were still good fights, great fights, but just not as good. But yeah, I can definitely understand if people say this game is a 10 out of 10, but personally, I think they could improve, and I'm pretty sure that they did from what I've heard in Ragnarok. So I would definitely have God of War on the list, and I'm looking very forward to Ragnarok. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the list. Let me know what other top 5s you want to see next in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do so. And don't forget to hit the bell. But yeah, that's about it.